So today we're gonna kind of do a general session where we go through and we work on all different parts of the body. Probably gonna concentrate a bit on the spine. So let's lay upon our mats and we'll begin with a brief body scan. Sorry, hang on. So let's just begin by taking a deep breath, expanding the chest, and as you exhale, letting your spine compress into the mat. And begin by just checking yourself out. How do you feel today? Where do you feel energy in your body and where do you not? If you have areas of discomfort, you might notice that now. Take a moment and scan yourself, checking your body image. How clear is it? What parts of you are clear and what parts are not? And you can just briefly run through by checking what part of your heels is making contact. You can feel that. Is it more on the outside or the back or the inside? And is it the same from side to side, or is there a difference? And likewise, as you scan upward, check your calves. What part of your thighs is making contact? And when you get to the pelvis, you can feel whether or not there's more weight on one buttock or the other. And see if your pelvis is tipping. Do you have more weight down toward the tailbone, more toward the top where the sacrum joins the lumbar spine? Just notice. Take a moment and form a picture of what you're doing. And when you can, put your hands under your head, lift your head up and take a moment and check it out. How accurate was your imaging? And placing your head back down, lengthening your neck. Pick up your elbows and let the pointy parts point away from you so that your palms can be flat. Maybe slide the shoulders down just a half an inch or so away from the ears. And sense your spine. Where does it touch down? Where does it leave the mat? Sense your shoulder blades. Do they seem equidistant from the spine, or is one farther out or closer in? What about your shoulders? Are they popping up off the mat? Or are they resting back? Is it the same on the left and as the right? Or is there a difference? Finish by checking out your arms and hands. Are your wrists popping up? Are you wanting to roll onto the outside of the hands? Just notice. And then you can finish by noticing your neck. Try to sense how much space there is between the back of your neck and the mat, and then take your fingers and slide them under both sides, checking it out, top to bottom. 1.5 to 2 fingers would be good. More than that would indicate stress, and less would not be so good either. And draw your knees up so your feet are standing. Your feet are hip distance apart. Using your thigh muscles, lift your lower spine and wrap it a few times. Setting it back down, lifting your head, lengthening the back of your neck. And let's begin with the head and the neck. So without doing anything in particular, roll your head to the right, whatever amount feels easy, and then back to the center, and then to the left. Do that once or twice, just observing if you have more mobility on one side or the other, and come back to the middle. Leading with the eyes and the tongue. So you're going to let your eyes gently look to the right, put your tongue in your right cheek and roll to the right. When you get as far as you can comfortably go, let your eyes shift left, tongue left, roll to the left. And just keep doing that. Eyes right, tongue right, head right, eyes left, tongue left, head left. Let that movement be gentle and easy. Sensing right where your neck is joining the skull. A little further down in the middle. And down toward the bottom where it joins the top of the upper spine. Sense and feel how far down into the upper back do you feel that turning? Then when you're in the middle, stop, let your eyes relax, sinking into the hammock of the eye muscles, your jaw relax. Your teeth should not be touching. And then imagining that you're turning from the very top of your skull, let your head roll right and then left. Then bringing the focus down, imagine the tip of your nose is leading the movement, drawing a semicircle in the air above you. And your chin, leading with the chin. And come back to the middle and stop. Let your arms come up in the air with your palms facing. And then using the muscles at the bottom of the shoulder blade, the lower traps, the lats, just press the arms up as far as you can, then release and let them drop and up and drop. So you're lightly wrapping the shoulder blades, feeling the soft tissue between the medial edge of the shoulder blade and your spine lengthening. And stop again and You can fold your elbows so that you're holding them lightly with your fingertips or maybe your forearms if it's easier, and that your head and arms roll to the right, bringing your right elbow to the mat and up and over to the left, going from side to side, rolling across your upper back, the space between the shoulder blades, bringing your elbow to the floor at the end of the movement if you can. And imaging the way the angle of the arms changes as you go through the movement. Sensing and feeling what's happening in the shoulder blades, in the space between the shoulder blades. Try tucking your chin just a little toward your chest so that your neck is even longer. And feel the difference that makes in the movement. Then stop next time your arms are in the middle and let them flow down so that they're resting on your belly just below the rib cage. And then let them float up and over the head. And if you can, let them drop onto the floor somewhere above your head. And let them float up and down to the belly. And just doing that. Try doing it with the tops of your shoulders touching the mat. And if it's difficult to get your arms all the way to the floor above the head, as you come up, let them pop up off the floor. And then as you come back down and you get toward the middle, drop them back and let them descend to your belly, and then up and then popping off the floor, making more room for your arms to come above your head. Then do it a few more times, only keeping your shoulders on the mat through the whole movement. And see if it's maybe a little easier. And then when your arms are down on your belly again, let them come by your sides, palms flat, elbows out. And roll your head to the right while pressing your right hand down toward your feet. And then release, come back to the middle, head left, left hand down, so that one shoulder is going up while the other is going down. Be sure you power the movement with the muscles at the bottom of the shoulder blade. Observe the way as the hand slides down, the shoulder moves out of the way of your chin, allowing your head to move a little more. and come back to the middle. Stop, lift your head, lengthening the back of your neck. Now let's turn our attention to our pelvis, being sure your feet are hip distance apart. Let both knees go over to the right, then up and over to the left, rolling across the sacrum and the buttocks. Letting that movement be very gentle, feeling the stretch in the QL, that muscle that connects the side of the pelvis to the floating ribs. And imaging that your pelvis is getting looser and looser. The lumbar spine, the vertebra pulling apart ever so gently. The pelvis like a pendulum on the end of a string or a chain, moving more and more freely. Image, if you can, the top of the lumbar spine where it joins to the bottom of the rib cage, and imagine that the rib cage is staying very still. And the movement is in the lumbar spine, the pelvis, the legs. Next time you're in the middle, walk your feet in so that your ankles and your knees are touching, and go back to going side to side, noticing much deeper stretch in the lumbar spine. And you can kind of let your rib cage move freely. That should make the movement a bit easier. Then try to continue the movement, letting your rib cage be more or less still. Of course, it's going to have to move a bit. Probably you might not be able to get your knees all the way onto the side, but that's okay. Just do whatever's easy. Then again, release your rib cage, letting the movement be freer. And stop, let both feet come up off the mat, just sort of flattening your lumbar spine. And reaching down, just grabbing your shins or your knees, rocking from side to side. Feeling the way you roll across the erector spinae, those long muscles that go from the base of your skull on either side of the spine, all the way to your sacrum. Giving it a little massage, letting your head move freely. Then stop for a moment, lift your head, lengthening your neck, and putting your hands on your kneecaps. Circle the upper leg bones. So you're drawing the knees up to your chest, pushing them out to the side, circling down until they tap together, and you draw them back up. And image the way the femur, the upper leg bone, is circling in the hip socket. Feel the way you're massaging the butt tissue. As you get knees toward the chest, it's more to the upper buttock. And as you circle down, it's down in the fascia around the tailbone. If your head is sliding up toward the top of the head, bring it down a little more toward the base of the skull. Then reverse the direction of your circling. Imaging the femurs getting looser and freer. Feeling the movement of the hips, the pelvis. The way the lumbar spine is alternately flattening and then maybe popping up a tiny bit. And stop and let your feet come back to the floor using your thigh muscles. Lift your lower spine, wrap it. Setting it back down, lifting your head, lengthening the back of your neck, letting your elbows point out, palms flat, shoulders down, away from the ears. Slide your right leg all the way out and gently wrap the back of the right knee. Then relax, letting your leg go. And then flexing your foot, roll across the heel, bringing your toes inward toward the midline, then roll back out toward the side of the foot. And just do that, sensing, feeling all the way up the leg, the ankle, the knee, the actual hip. Imaging the way the whole leg is turning in the socket. And you might also sense into the tissue of the butt and the inner thigh. You could feel the way as you roll outward, the butt muscles shorten and the inner thigh lengthens. And as you roll inward, the reverse is true. And stop, let your foot go. And make some circles with your foot. So you're pointing your toes and then circling inward and then flexing as the toes come toward the shin and then outward and then releasing, just circling the whole foot on the ankle. And make that as luxurious as you can. Circle in the opposite direction. And stop, letting the leg go, the foot. Then roll onto the back of your heel and flexing the foot and keeping the foot flexed through the whole movement. You're going to press your left buttock into the mat and then press the flexed foot all the way down, lengthening the right side and then keeping the foot flexed, let it rebound up. And then press down, sliding the heel down, foot flex, releasing, letting it bounce back up. And just do that, feeling the way the right side of the pelvis slides down, the right fascia on the sides lengthens, and then all rebounds. Make this a delicious stretch. You might even feel the fascia on the right side of the spine, the lumbar spine lengthening. And stop, letting the foot go, relaxing, sensing the leg. Perhaps it might feel a bit longer. Image it. Just notice anything you might. And then clench the buttock on the right side so that the right side of the pelvis pops up, and then release, letting it go. Pop it up again and release so that you're bouncing your hip socket up and down, the side of the pelvis going up and down. And with each release, try to feel the way the soft tissue softens, the blood flows back into it. And stop, letting the leg go. Bringing the knee back up, using your thigh muscles to lift your lower spine. Wrap it a few times, setting it back down. And then let your right leg come up in the air and grasping the back of the thigh, gently pull the leg toward you and then release it and catch it, pull it toward you, release it and catch it. As if you were walking on the ceiling. Allow your fingers, if you can, to walk up and down the back of the hamstrings from the sits bones all the way back up to the back of the knee, sensing and feeling all that fascia. Then stop for a moment and let your hands rest on either side of the knee joint. And then just drop the foot, letting it bounce off the back of your thigh. Then let it come back up in the air and then drop, sensing into the knee joint as you do that. And imagining, imaging that it's getting looser and longer as you come up, maybe even flexing the foot a tiny bit and then releasing and drop and come up and flex a little, then release and drop. Feeling the knee moving under your hands. Now it's a fact that the knee is the joint that is the most weight bearing in the whole body, which is one reason why when we carry a few extra pounds, we tend to really feel it in the knee. And make another movement or two. Then stop and just gently pull your knee toward your chest for a moment. And press your tailbone down toward the floor, feeling that little stretch right where the back of the thigh is hooking onto the pelvis. And then release. Press down and release. Just stretching all those little attachments on the sits bones. And stop and releasing your foot to the floor again. Letting your hands be by your sides, elbows out, palms flat. Take a moment and image your right knee, your right leg. How clear is it in your body image? And you might compare that to the left. Perhaps it feels a bit different. Then slide your left heel out all the way. Gently wrap the back of the left knee. Image.
Hey, Althea, before you do the other side, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are we trying to keep our leg parallel during all of this, or just let it be naturally a little bit turned out or a little bit turned in?
No, let them be natural.
Okay.
And then,
Thank you.
sure, no worries. Letting your legs slide out, wrapping the back of the knee. For that, you want to be on the back of your heel. Just and then relax. One thing I might say to that though, Katie, is when you're curious about something like that, try experimenting. So move your legs so they're parallel and notice what that's like. Then let it go back to the natural and observe that. There's really no right or wrong way, but you will get different effects depending on what you're doing. All right. So now let's roll across the heel, leg inward, leg outward, sensing and feeling all the way up through the knee into the hip socket. And you can also sense into the fascia of the inner thigh, the buttock. And you might notice, is it easier to roll in or to roll out? It's always a little, well, I should say, for me at least, it's always a little easier to roll out than in that we don't have as much ability to rotate inward. But if your knees tend to be more knock-kneed or, rotated inward, you may find that movement easier than actually rolling out. Then stop, relax for a moment, letting your foot go. And then you're going to flex the foot, resting on the back of the heel. Press the right side of the buttock into the mat. And keeping your foot flexed, press the heel down, feeling the left side of the pelvis going down, the left side lengthening, keeping the foot flexed, let it rebound. And then down, pressing down, and let it rebound, keeping your foot flexed at all points. Image what you're doing. How as the foot slides down, it drags the left side of the pelvis with it. The fascia that weaves the side of the pelvis to the floating ribs, the QL, has to lengthen. The fascia on the left side of the spine is lengthening. Just notice whatever you can. Then stop, drawing the knee back up, lifting your head, lengthening your neck. And take a moment. Squeeze the fascia in your left butt. Oh, actually, sorry. Slide your leg back out again. I think it's easier to feel this way. Now squeeze the left buttock so that the whole left side of the pelvis pops up, and then release, feeling the blood flowing into the tissue. Then squeeze and release, and just keep doing that, bouncing the left side of the pelvis with this contracting and releasing of the butt fascia. Then stop, drawing the knee back up, taking a moment, using your thigh muscles, lift your lower spine, wrap it once or twice. And let the left leg come up in the air, gently grasping the back of the thigh, pulling it toward you and releasing and catching it. So you're walking on the ceiling. Let your foot be relaxed. And you can begin to walk your fingers up and down the back of the thigh. And placing your hands on either side of the knee, dropping the foot, letting it come back up and dropping, sensing into the knee joint. And you can also explore bringing the foot up, flexing the foot, and then releasing and dropping, and then flexing, coming up, releasing and dropping. And stop and draw the knee in toward the chest. And holding it gently there, press the tailbone down, stretching the attachments, and then release and press down and release, sensing as clearly as you can, feeling the stretch at the very top of the hamstring, the adductors, right where they join on the sits bones. Then you can release that foot back to the floor and let both knees go over to the right, up and over to the left, rolling, letting the pelvis move freely, letting the rib cage move freely. And then the next time you're in the middle, you can stop for a moment, lift your head, lengthen your neck, And clasp your elbows with your fingertips or your forearms. And let the head and arms go right while the knees go left. Then everything comes back to the middle. Head and arms left, knees right. Back to the middle. And as you do this movement, feel the entire spine stretching. Little more room between the vertebrae as they pull apart. Try allowing your awareness to travel up and down the spine, starting right at the bottom of the lumbar spine. Then maybe up where the lumbar spine's joining your rib cage. Then a little higher still. And in the space between the shoulder blades, the upper back. Then come back to the middle. Let your arms come back down by your sides, palms flat, elbows out, shoulders maybe just a little bit down away from the ears. Resting your weight squarely on the back of your head. And let's think about our wrists for just a moment. Let your hands all the way up to where the wrists are come up off the floor and then release and drop them and up and release. So you're lightly wrapping your palms, but sensing and feeling the wrists, those 7 little bones that form the wrists. The end of the forearm bones, which are those 2 knobs that we think of as wrist bones, and that rest on top of the 7 carpal bones, which in turn are on top of the metacarpal long bones of the hands. And stop, and keeping your forearm bones on the mat, make some circles with your fingers, seeing if you can sense into the carpal bones, those small bones, and circle in one direction and then in the other. And stop. Let your hands be soft and relaxed. And curling your hands into fists, letting the fists come up in the air, sense into your elbows. And then make big circles with the forearms, circling on the elbows. What are you feeling in your shoulder joints? Just observe. And circle in the opposite direction a few times. Stop, let your arms rest on the mat, shoulders down. Now think about the thoracic rib cage, the part of the spine that has ribs coming off. That's one of the hardest parts to loosen. So again, curling your hands lightly into fists, place them sort of right on the side of your rib cage. Ladies, you want to be behind the breast tissue, so you're sort of closer to the floor. And you're going to press with your right hand, sort of pressing the whole rib cage to the left, letting the left just float along, left hand, and then release and then press with the left. pressing it to the right and release. And try to sense right into the spine, the very top of the spine. What do you feel there? Notice what your jaw and your chin are doing, if anything. And then slide down about a finger's width and do the same thing. Press to one side, then the other. Slide down another finger's breadth. And see if you can kind of just keep doing that, sensing and feeling the part of your spine that's moving as you do this. When you get down to the bottom of the spine, the bottom of the rib cage, you'll notice that it moves a bit more freely. Try to keep your elbows grounded on the mat if you can. Imaging the way the vertebrae are moving. Feeling the way the head goes with the movement. And when you get all the way down to where the floating ribs are, be sure you don't press too hard on those guys, but do a few moves. And then walk your way back up. Sensing and imaging the way the spine is moving, feeling it, if you can, as clearly as possible. And remembering as you get toward the top of the spine to stay below the breast tissue. And then stop, let your arms come back down by your sides, elbows out. Maybe tap your hands once or twice, and then relax. Slide your hands down a little so your shoulders move away from your ears. And take a deep breath in. Filling your chest, letting it expand. And as you exhale, feeling the whole rib cage imprinting into the mat. Do that once or twice. Feeling the shoulders, the collarbones rising, and then dropping as you release the breath. Take another deep breath, and as you do that, imagine your belly expanding, your pelvic floor descending, your knees widening ever so slightly. And as you exhale, let your pelvis sink into the mat, the lumbar spine, releasing. And just keep breathing all the way down. Releasing shoulders, hips. Letting your jaw be relaxed. Sliding the right leg out, wrapping it once or twice. Letting it go. The left leg. Releasing. Flexing both feet and maybe sliding the right heel down and then relaxing, and then the left and relaxing, letting both feet go. And take a moment and once again scan your body. Observe, how clear is it in your body image? Are there any parts that were not very present at the beginning, a little more present now? Just notice whatever is true for you. Roll your head gently to the right and then to the left. Then come back to the middle, lengthening your neck. Slide your right hand down a little and then release it, letting the elbow go out, the forearm parallel, and the left. Doing the same thing. And just taking a moment breathing and relaxing. Letting the air. First slide, please. Just letting yourself take another moment or two to breathe. And with each breath, letting your body expand, your eyes floating up, your jaw descending, your chest rising, your belly expanding. And with each exhale, releasing heels, knees, hips, shoulders, head. Taking a moment to just appreciate this wonderful body that carries you through each day. Feeling renewed vitality and energy in every part of you. And whenever you're ready, you can begin to move fingers and toes and rolling onto your right side. Take a moment with your head pillowed on your right arm and your left hand somewhere close to your chest, one knee on top of the other. And take one more breath, relaxing for just a moment into the floor. And whenever you're ready, pressing with your left palm, letting your head dangle, come up to a seated position. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you so much. I needed that.
Yeah, me too. Camp beds. Okay, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye. How did your conference go? One moment, hang on. Where's the?